I lived in a part of... Hang on.
I can't contain myself.
No.
You're going to contain yourself for just a little bit more.
Love this idea of lived experience unless it's the lived experience of people who don't agree. So my lived experience is that I lived in a part of London where when I had to walk down the street, there were tables and tables full of young men. Now, whether they were illegal or legal, I've no...
In this debate, Narinder Kaur kept saying illegal immigrants are not responsible for all the problems we have in this country. The billionaires are. Well, billionaires were not responsible for some of these horrific attacks on women and girls we've seen. Her opponent said her and her daughter feel unsafe in their local area with all these foreign men loitering around. And Kaur predictably just dismissed her lived experience. My own ex-girlfriend lived near such an area, so I saw it with my own eyes. I would see the way all these groups of Albanians and Afghans would stare at her. I told her never to walk through the park after dark on her own. And there has been attacks committed by these men in their local park. One such victim was her own friend. I myself had a confrontation in the same park with 3 Somalian asylum seekers who tried to harass me. What decent person behaves like that in the country that has just taken them in? Even if it's only a small percentage of them, that is still a big problem. Kaur kept saying 30,000 people are not the problem. It's not 30,000 people though, is it? That's how many have come so far in 2025. Some experts say there may be anything up to 1 million illegals already here, not to mention the countless more that have yet to arrive in the future. The left, like Narinder, keeps on making illegal immigration all about the NHS. We need immigrants to fill job vacancies, they say. Why can't we allow a sensible level of immigration that benefits us and stop the rest? Arguing we should allow all these third world men to come here illegally on boats because we need doctors for the NHS is absolutely laughable, as is the idea we should let them all work while we process their asylum claims. We have no idea who these people are, where they're from and what their motives are, and public safety has to come first. These arguments are just becoming more and more tiresome. Take a listen.
When people see footage of those boats coming in, it makes people really furious. It's also about legal migration. But if you live in, something like Epping or towns and cities all over the UK, you're seeing your town and your city and even your village in some places changing before your eyes. Nobody asked you whether you wanted a hotel full of young men in the middle of your community, perhaps down the road from a school.
But is that the most important issue for people's lives?
2 things I would say. One, obviously, it knocks onto everything. It knocks onto health, knocks onto the economy, the amount it's costing us. But it's such a fundamental issue about what do we want our country to be? What do we want our communities to be? Do we want... I lived in a part of... Hang on.
I can't contain myself.
No.
You're going to contain yourself for just a little bit more.
Love this idea of lived experience unless it's the lived experience of people who don't agree. So my lived experience is that I lived in a part of London where when I had to walk down the street, there were tables and tables full of young men. Now, whether they were illegal or legal, I've no idea. I have a strong suspicion that most of them were not legal, but anyway, they were there, and it meant you ran the gauntlet. Now, I'm a grown woman, and I felt uncomfortable. I wouldn't go for a run in shorts, for example, because I just automatically felt uncomfortable. But for my daughter, I was concerned about her safety. Now, that's not something, that's a real change in the way that we are living, and it's not something the British people agreed to. In fact, quite the opposite.
OK, so it is a top priority for you. Narinder.
I think you made some wild accusations there. I think that if you are blaming some 30,000 people in 67 million population of a country for all our societal ills is such a dangerous, and the fact that people are worried about immigration, 30,000 people are not the problem, are not the reason for, I have to finish, 30,000 people are not the problem for the NHS breaking down, 30,000 people are not the problem while we can't afford our mortgages and pay our rent, 30,000 people are not the reason for the cost of living crisis, they are not the reason our gas bills are so high. You can't say 30,000 people are a problem for the reason for our problem.
I just want to add that you're talking about asylum seekers.
Even immigrants.
The question was about immigration.
Even immigration.
Net migration.
We need people in this country.
Sure.
We have a...
But I just want to make that clarification.
Yes, all immigration. Because guess what? 267,000 Ukrainians were in a problem, but suddenly immigration is a problem.
What do you
let
say?
me finish.
No,
Could you
hang
let
on,
me finish?
hang on.
No,
what do you
We're going to have
say?
to go. We're going to go to
You talk.
break. We're going to go to break in just a second. So just finish your point, and then we'll pick this up. Go on.
I think the fact is that if you've got a whole public and you've got politicians in, they're the problem. The problem is the billionaires at the top who won't pay net tax.
All right.
But what fair? Eddie, that's not fair to call them criminals. They're asylum seekers. There's women and children on those boats too. And also I'd like to say, if you let them work, because they have to sit in hotels for like 2 years nearly, trying to wait to be processed because the system is so slow. They want to work.
Okay.
They could be contributing to the pot.
I think Eddie's got a really good point, which is that the moment you start handing money over to organised crime and you get to this country, either you...
Who's handing money over to organised crime?
To get on a boat, you have to pay.
Oh, sorry. They're paying to
so
get
you were
here.
right.
Yeah.
Either your family have raised that money or you have a debt. You arrive in this country and you have to pay that debt off. Now, how are you going to do that? Probably through crime. So we are importing crime.
Why wouldn't you do that by getting a job?
Because you're not allowed to work when you're supposedly...
Right, so that's what Narinder was saying, that perhaps people should be allowed
here
to
in the first place.
OK, Eddie,
if you've come, for example, through France, if you are fleeing persecution, you are in a safe country in France. So you are choosing not to take your family to that safe country. You're choosing...
Why should France take them all?
No,
they may not want to stay.
Either you're fleeing persecution or you're not... No, either you're fleeing...
France doesn't have to take everyone.
If you're fleeing persecution, you go to the first...
No, they may have family in Britain.
No, they're choosing to come here. They're choosing to come here.
Keisha, thank you.